Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another class of Straight Talk in Room 503. It's time for you to text a friend, call a friend, tweet a friend, tell them that Professor Merriweather is back in class with the messy truth about public education and what's going on in my community and your community and what's going on that's leading up to the failure of public education and what our illustrious leaders who we have put our trust in are doing to help our children. We're going to deal with a wide range of things. So tell them they won't be bored. Bring paper and pencil and take notes because the messy truth is about to be told. Ladies and gentlemen, let me briefly talk about our president and what his thoughts are and who he's putting in position or her placed in position to deal with hurting our children. I'm reading this from my notes. And so if I happen to stumble a little bit, it's not because I came from public education, because I think that my public education gave me a good foundation for where I am now. According to the Washington Post, the budget for education aimed to cut $9.2 billion in funding from our students. The Budget Secretary of Education, Betsy, has been working on slashing funds that support after-school program for our children from underserved communities. Take away funding for training for our teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's plain old common sense, and you don't have to stay up all night to get this. If our teachers are not trained, our students does not receive the quality education that they so desperately deserve. And if you train the teachers in charter schools and public schools, I believe that when you look at it, they receive the more quality education. Also, she wants to take money out that's reducing class sizes. Ladies and gentlemen, common sense tell you the more students in a classroom, the less time that a teacher has to spend per student. Donald J. Trump and Betsy know that, along with the puppets of Republicans that are voting for them and still supporting them. And it would be completely eliminating funds from mental health services, anti-bullying initiative, taking funds out of anti-bullying initiative. But yet Melania Trump is saying one of her platforms will be working with bullying. But her husband is taking funds out of what she says she wants to do because it's a smokescreen. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest bully is in the White House. She needs to start with the president, her husband. But ladies and gentlemen, it's just a smokescreen. And then she wants to pull out hundreds of millions of dollars from local schools and give it to charter schools and private schools. This budget isn't about doing what is best for our children. It's about putting Betsy's ideological agenda to undermine strong public education. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't that a tragedy? This morning, on the news this morning, which was last night, this occurred, yesterday afternoon, our intelligent billionaire businessman of a president got angry because of what happened on the MSCBN show with Joe and Milo. Mika. My pronunciation is down on that. He insulted them by tweeting back that Joe had a low IQ and that the young lady really needed a facelift. And ladies and gentlemen, when they asked Melania Trump, the First Lady of the United States of America, to comment on this, and keep it in mind that one of her initiatives is fighting bullying. This was her comment, and I quote, "When he, referring to our president, get punched, he will punch back 10 times harder." So quite naturally, ladies and gentlemen, she knows the president. She's been living with him, and she's married to him. But this is the first lady. You say what you want to my white brothers and sisters. Never in your life and my life will President Obama, Michelle Obama, our first lady, former first lady, would have ever made that kind of mistake. Not because she was black, but because she was intelligent. She had more sense than that. But yet, the Republicans are supporting a man who is making all kind of threats, and his wife is supporting him and backing him. I have no problem with. I think that a man, wife, and a man, husband ought to support the wife ought to support the husband. But baby, I wouldn't support anybody. I don't care who it is, if they're wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, this is what some of you all elected, and this is what you're getting. Before I move away from Donald J. Trump, I want to adjust my lens and clear my voice and make sure I say something to our illustrious people in the community that are not people of color, and give you my opinion. And if you'd like to give me your opinion, you know that you can reach me by going to my Facebook page. My email address is mars649@gmail.com. I live here in the city of Jackson, Tennessee. And therefore, you got my email address. You can leave me comments on my website. So let me go first and say what I feel. And everybody has an opinion. And then if you want to give your opinion, step up to the plate and do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my honest to goodness truth. I had read this and pondered this before, and I conclude along with the author of this article. The only reason that Donald Trump was elected president because we had a black president that a lots of white America did not like and never did accept. But now they want us, being people of color, to accept Donald J. Trump. They said things like, get over it. What the hell we got to lose? But they didn't want to accept our black president. Some whites' reaction was to elect one of the most unqualified presidents to replace one of the more qualified president, one of the best president we had in my lifetime. He was more educated. He was more outspoken, a true leader that we ever had. This president, listen to me, white America and black America. This president endured 8 years of lynching by the white mob. Thank God he survived. He was a good husband, a good father. Not once did he embarrass us. Other countries was not sniggering and laughing. But now we have a president that will say and do anything. And yet, we have intelligent people who are supporting him who are not black Americans. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you with the election coming up. This man this past week raised $10 million for his upcoming election in 2010. My prediction is he'll never make it to 2010 because of the things that he's already done. This man is ridiculous, but yet we have people supporting him. But ladies and gentlemen, my thing is those Republicans who support Donald Trump, when they run, I'm encouraging people all over America, when you go to their campaign office and they're making their presentation to run, this is what I'm going to do, and you do what you feel you want to do. I want to ask them a very simple question. Did you or did you not support Donald J. Trump? If they says yes, that means that if a man is robbing and stealing and doing drugs and raping and what have you, and you say, I support Professor Merrill, that means you support what I'm doing. And that puts your intelligence into question. I question you as an individual. I'm not going to vote for anyone that support a man who has done as much harm and care only for the elite, the rich, and not for the average person. And all of these so-called Republicans who are supporting him, they are not all rich either. They are some of the poorest, ignorant whites that you would want to see, along with some poor, ignorant blacks who voted for this man when this man has only placed one man in a cabinet position, and that's Uncle Ben Carson. And he placed him over housing, which they knew that majority of the people who live in the public housing complex was people of color. That was the insult to us, but yet a lot of people took that. But ladies and gentlemen, that's my take on why they're pushing and supporting Donald Trump. That's why we have so much killing and hate crimes going on, because this man put hate in the minds of people, our president. And yet, he talks about President Obama didn't do nothing for us. He didn't do what you wanted him to do, but he was good to all people, regardless of their ethnicity. Stay with me. Let's switch the subject and turn a page and talk a little bit, very briefly. On July the 6th, a Minnesota officer, white officer, was acquitted of killing Casson. Help me with this, ladies and gentlemen. The last spelling of the Philandos, Castile. Simple pronunciation. The pronunciation just in my bag, and I don't hide behind it, okay? They found this white officer for killing this black man. Not guilty on all accounts. Anyone who watched the videotape, watched a police officer ask for identification, watched the man attempt to go and show identification, and his girlfriend, and in the back seat, the child, observed a man who was sworn to protect and preserve fire more than 4 rounds in the chest of this man who was following orders, and you would hear his girlfriend continue to say, sir, that sounds like respect. Nowhere during the videotape do you hear him being rude, saying what he's not going to do, nor did you hear his wife say nothing but sir. But yet, he is dead. Only thing I can come up with is driving while black. But ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. All cops or police officers are not bad. And you've heard me say many times during this classroom that there are bad people on both sides, black and white. I think that we as a race of people, when we observe something that happened positive, regardless of the ethnicity, we ought to say something about it. And I watched a video this week of a white police officer who observed a 95-year-old black man sitting on his porch every day, even when it was unbearably hot. Finally, the officer stopped and asked the man why does he sit out on his porch all of the time. He found out that this man's air conditioner was broken and it didn't work. This officer, along with his partner, went to Home Depot and tried to find an air conditioner and was going to pay for it, and did find air conditioner and going to pay for it out of their own pockets. What a humanitarian. What a blessing coming their way. Ladies and gentlemen, they returned to his house and put in the new air conditioner for him. But while there, they found out that the central unit wasn't working. And while they were shopping for this air conditioner, Home Depot, when they went back, agreed to, out of their pocket, put a new unit inside this man's home. After installing the unit, the workers worked on replacing the central unit. To their surprise, the company agreed to put in the central unit free of charge. Now, I read you that article, ladies and gentlemen, because of the mere fact there are some good people. God got some wonderful people. We just got a lot of devils that we need to call out, black and white. But what a humanitarian thing to do for anyone, let alone a person that is black that had nothing to do with it. We all like to be comfortable in our homes. And you get blessed when you bless other people. You know that. You already know, my students, that the judge issued a mistrial in Bill Cosby trial. But the DA and others in the white community want to retry due to the fact that the alleged sexual assault happened with a person that is white. But when a white officer kills a black man, there's not an outcry in the white community as a whole. Now, don't get me wrong, when there was a lot of that protesting going on, it was just as many whites out there as blacks protesting. But why is there not an outcry about this? Bill Cosby was wrong. I don't condone it. But now, there's a lot of factors involved in why this happened, what went on, whether it was consensus or whatever. But we're going to spend millions of dollars retrying Bill Cosby. Yet the Minnesota police officer who killed the brother, there was no weapon pulled, his life was not in danger. He went home to his family. This is America to you. Welcome to America. Let me conclude with this statement before we move away from directly talking about public education and deal with some more issues so that I can get you out of class. The problem is not public education, but the problem is your attitude about public education. Let that simmer a little bit and soak in. Again, the problem is not public education, but the problem is the attitudes about public education. Let that soak in. You know, I and Reverend James Baxter, my friend that has been working with me to help in bringing forward public education and the downfall and trying to improve public education, I'm going to get into what he would like to do and what I would like for you to do to help Reverend Baxter. But I attended a funeral, ladies and gentlemen, and I looked around the funerals and there was a lot of preachers that was present because of the fact that the deceased was the son of a former president of Lane College in my hometown, and his father was a bishop. So the ministers, they put their best suit on and put the best foot forward, came on. I looked around the church and I said to myself, I wonder why they would show up at a funeral, but they won't show up at the school board meeting to address public education, the closing of historical black schools in the community. We only have 2 more schools in our community, Lincoln Elementary and Alexander. And there are plans to close both of those schools. Where are these lustrous ministers on that day? I am told in the Bible that let the dead bury the dead. But here these preachers will show up when the deceased did not know they was there. But the living knows that they're not there for their children. Now don't get me wrong, I call it just like I see it. As a preacher, God calls us to be leaders and shepherds for the people. That includes our children. But when you won't show up at the hearing where they removed the city of Jackson, in my hometown, removed $12 million away from public education, they didn't show up then, number one, Reverend Baxter. They did not show up when they closed. Whitehall School had about 6 that showed up then now. We got hundreds of them. But ladies and gentlemen, I wonder why sometimes our families are so divided. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you can allow the politician to come into the pulpit and disrupt our ritual services, but you can't show up when our people need you, but you show up when they need you. In my hometown, you let the mayor ask them to show up for breakfast, it'll be standing room only. But I and Reverend Baxter has been trying to get them involved, and we can't even get 5 or 6. But Mr. Charlie can get them all. Something wrong. Maybe that explains why our children are having problems. Why the wives don't have much in the home. Why the sons don't have much of a role model. Because they're not getting involved. And you can feel free to hit me back up. Give me your opinion or tell me what you think. Because I'm sure going to tell you what I think about what's going on in the faith-based community. Now, I don't want anyone to think I'm just talking about black pastors and black clergies and black evangelists. The white is not showing up any better. They are not showing up either. And it makes me wonder when I drive down the street on the way to church and see all of those cars at those churches. They went to hear the word of God from a man who would not ever show up and address the needs of children. And a lot of those children are in their churches. Not all of those white churches have rich kids in them. So, ladies and gentlemen, think about that. Ladies and gentlemen, the clock on the wall says time for me to get out of here and let you go enjoy the weekend. Let me close real briefly by telling you that Reverend James Baxter, my friend, and I have been several times to the school board, and he has met and talked with our new superintendent, who as of today, our old superintendent, I didn't mean any disrespect from that, let me change the wording. The former superintendent is exiting today, and our new superintendent, Dr. Jones, is entering today. Reverend Baxter, when they closed Whitehall pre-K in the inner city, he and I wanted to see that school kept open. And he and I are one among the probably 8, I think 5 or 6 black ministers spoke up. Reverend Baxter and I and Sheila Garwin. So less than 10 people in our whole community, with 47% of us being black, came out. My questions were the sororities, the fraternities, the civil rights organization? Where was the other organization that puts on different events, have battalions and pageants and all of that stuff, and our kids are suffering because of the low quality of education? But Reverend Baxter wants to keep Whitehall School open so that our kids don't have to be bussed out of the community. Ladies and gentlemen, if the white power structure can convince our new superintendent to vote to close Lincoln Elementary School in Alexander, then, ladies and gentlemen, all of our pre-K students will have to be bused to their community. If you remember the Vision 2020 that we talked about in several classes past, it talked about neighborhood schools. Also, the school that my friend Minister Brent Lay wanted to start, it was about neighborhood school, better schools. Then, ladies and gentlemen, someone explained to this black professor why in the hell that when they close those two schools, I'll soon with our blessing, because we sure in the hell is not stopping them. Our kids will have to be bused or carried to their community because they don't want to be carried to our community. Right is right, wrong is wrong. But Dr. Baxter wants to have a pre-K school, and he also wants to have adult education and GED program in our community, so we don't have to be leaving our community to receive what we should be receiving. Where in the hell is our tax dollars being spent? Everywhere but in our community. While lustrous faith-based community preach on Sunday morning Bible class, while our organization puts on pageants and send money overseas, and our children are in dire need of quality education right here in town. When Mr. Baxter talked to me about that, and due to the fact that that is a very large elementary school, I put my thinking cap on and began to put some ideas down, and I'm going to share them with you and let you go home for the weekend. And then I called Reverend Baxter back and suggested this to him. I said, Reverend Baxter, wouldn't it be magnificent if we had a pre-K school in our neighborhood that our children wouldn't have to be bussed out? See, I believe it is better to build children than to repair men. But ladies and gentlemen, I thought because we have some celebrities, and entertainers, and lay people who has made contribution in our neighborhood, because at our Freedom Fund banquet, we're spending time bringing in people because they bought a table. They gave us some money, and so we want them to be at the head table. And then you make our black folks sit there in a Freedom Fund banquet, NAAC, the Advancement for Colored People, and we sit there and watch Republicans and people who do nothing for our communities. That's a shame. But I suggested him that due to the fact that Niece LaSalle, the Queen of Blues, that we would have a museum in the building, in a portion of that building, that will not be interfering with the educational component, that people can come and see her memorabilia. But that we would also, in the pre-K, have a Niece LaSalle's music department as a part of the pre-K program. Then her husband, James E. Wolfe, who was had the first black radio station, that he would have his memorabilia also in the museum. That our Jackson own Too Tall Joan would have a program in the pre-K Too Tall Joan athletic and physical education department, and he would also have memorabilia in the museum. That we would also have in the pre-K program fine art, a computer department, and we'll also have parental involvement and parenting classes, which will be held there at the school as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that place that we're asking for, Reverend Baxter, and I'm joining him in his efforts, we will have the Niece LaSalle Museum, the James E. Wolfe Museum, Too Tall Jones Museum, Mary High School provision when they closed the historical black colleges. Now I'm talking to those people who said save our school, save JCM. Right now, those people do not know where Jackson Central, Mary, and Mary High memorabilia are, and we would know where it would be their house in the museum that the public could come in and view. But we would have a community activity period for our senior citizen, adult education program, As I said, Mr. Baxter would have GED classes and adult education. Also, we would have job readiness, resume preparation, interviewing classes, and we would have a boys to men's mentoring program. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't tell me that wouldn't be something for our community. Not only for our community, you needed to have it in your community. But ladies and gentlemen, we're wasting a lot of time letting other people that doesn't look like her set the agenda, and we participate in the agenda. No questions asked. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to get out of class. I want to leave this quote with you. Some people come into your life as a blessing. Others come into your life as a lesson. This host of Straight Talk in Room 503 hope that I am in your life not only as a blessing, but to give you some lessons in what we need to do to improve public education. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic 4th of July. If you're into celebrating something that doesn't involve a whole lot of us except the mere fact that we help build America, but you know where the celebration is going. So ladies and gentlemen, be careful. Watch what you eat, watch who you eat with. And ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic and blessed 4th. And if the Lord said the same, I'll see you back in the class of Straight Talk next week. Take care until then. I'm the author of Straight Talk in Room 5, author of Enough is Enough, and the host of Straight Talk in Room 503. Be blessed, my friend.